Which brings us to a statement on business rates. Minister Tomlinson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. This government wants the best for Britain's high streets. We know how central they are to the strength and vibrancy of our villages, our towns and our cities. We know how hard small business owners work, and we know how badly they were let down by the previous government. Shops shuttered, council funding cut, business rates left totally unreformed. We will not let decline continue, and we are already taking steps to arrest it. We are protecting high street businesses from upward-only rent review clauses and introducing a strong new community right to buy to help communities safeguard valued community assets such as pubs and shops on their high streets. We are pushing ahead with high street rental auctions, which are helping bring long-term empty shops back into use. Where premises have been vacant for too long, councils can auction the right to rent them, offering 1 to 5 year leases to new businesses and community groups, helping to create more vibrant high streets. We also launched the Winter of Action to combat retail crime, a nationwide crackdown on crime and antisocial behaviour to protect shoppers and retail workers. As well as this, we are investing in local communities through the £5 billion Pride in Place programme announced last September and investing to support growth, including through the new Local Growth Fund. Around 1 in 3 businesses also continue to benefit from small business rates relief, Madam Deputy Speaker, and don't pay any business rates at all, while 85,000 benefit from reduced business rates as this relief tapers. At the budget, we also extended the small business rates relief second property grace period for another 2 years, which is a really important change, meaning that businesses expanding into a second property will retain the support as they grow. But we know that there is more to do. And before I turn to today's announcements, Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to run through the 3 main components of the changes to business rates that are taking place in April for all businesses, and to explain the steps that the government took at the budget last year on business rates. First, the underlying and significant reforms to the system that the Chancellor set out as part of our commitment to transform business rates in England over this Parliament. We have implemented permanently lower multipliers for eligible retail, hospitality and leisure properties, with the multiplier falling by around 12p or 25% on the 1st of April. Some of this is as a result of the overall reduction in multipliers between revaluation periods, but the further 5 pence reduction announced by the Chancellor is on its own worth nearly £1 billion for the 750,000 retail, hospitality and leisure businesses that are the lifeblood of our high streets. We are paying for this support for the high street through higher rates on the top 1% of most expensive properties. This includes many large distribution warehouses such as those used by online retail giants. Let's be crystal clear. Before our reforms, a mid-sized high street business faced the same multiplier or tax rate as a warehouse used by an online giant. That was the system that we were left with. Now, they will pay, the mid-sized high street business, around 38 pence in the pound, and the large warehouse will pay around 51 pence in the pound. That's 33% more. And this is a sizable reform, and it is here for good. The second component of business rates announced at the budget was the revaluation. All non-domestic properties are revalued independently every 3 years for business rates purposes. New valuations will come into effect in April. And I want to take the opportunity, Madam Deputy Speaker, to thank the independent valuers in the Valuation Office Agency who carry out the work. The government didn't take the easy approach of kicking the post-COVID revaluation into the long grass. Instead, we introduced a significant transitional support package because we knew that some sectors were seeing large increases in their rateable values after the pandemic. We are capping bill increases in each of the next 3 years for those seeing the largest rises and spending a total of £4.3 billion on this and other interventions. I want to say something specific here, Madam Deputy Speaker, about hotels. The government recognises that their rateable values have increased significantly since the pandemic, which means the caps on increases that we have implemented are particularly important for them. But it is right that we look at this further, and we will therefore review the way that hotels are valued to ensure that it accurately reflects the market for this sector. The third important point of context, Mr. Speaker, is the tapering away of the temporary pandemic relief for high street businesses. The previous government went into the election with plans to withdraw this relief overnight in 2025. That would have been a harsh and sharp removal of support. It would have pushed up bills for independent high street businesses overnight by 300%. That is reckless and it is irresponsible. Instead, we have taken a different approach. We extended the retail, hospitality and leisure relief this year at 40%, and we are unwinding it over the coming years. The jumping off point for any business currently receiving a 40% discount is their current bill, not their bill without relief. The budget decisions then led to the following outcomes. First, over half of ratepayers will see their bills either flat or falling next year. That's over half. Second, for properties that do see their bills increase from the 1st of April, most will see their increases capped at 15% or less, or £800 for the smallest. Third, bills will adjust to new valuations, but our caps mean that this will happen gradually, and high street businesses will benefit from permanently reduced multipliers for the long term. This is a fair and a reasonable approach, and as set out with the budget, in total we are spending over £4 billion in the next 3 years to limit the scale of bill increases for those who are either losing reliefs or seeing their rateable values increase. In the coming financial year, because of our interventions, the business rate system is raising the same amount of revenue as it was forecast to before the budget in the spring of 2025, not billions and billions more as opposition MPs seek to claim, more or less the same. Madam Deputy Speaker, that is the shape of the policy that we set out at budget, and because business rates is rather complicated, I hope you'll forgive me that I did want to set that out in full. However, this government does want to go further to support pubs. Pubs are the cornerstone of so many communities. They are essential to the social and cultural life of so many places across the country. And I've heard clearly from members on the government benches just how important they are. I want to thank colleagues who have engaged constructively and privately with me on this issue in recent weeks. Whether they represent constituencies in coastal or rural communities, towns or cities, their representations have been invaluable, and their constituents should know that most of the politics they see in the papers isn't what matters. It's the conversations and the advocacy MPs provide in these corridors that can make the difference. In particular, the member for Bournemouth East has been a relentless advocate for businesses in his constituency, as has the member for the Isle of Wight West and the member for Shoreditch. And in her role as the chair of the APPG for pubs, let me thank the member for Warrington North for her engagement too on this matter. Madam Deputy Speaker, forgive me, pubs haven't had the support they needed for too long under the Conservatives. Members opposite claim to care about pubs, but where were they when the number of pubs fell by 7,000 between 2010 and 2024? They were in government. They let the number of pubs in our communities fall by a fifth. The Conservatives also allowed the revaluation to go ahead with a business rates methodology for pubs that no longer has the support of the sector. Before the budget, every pub sector body was broadly signed up to the methodology used for valuing pubs and had lent its support to the principles set out in the Valuation Officer's Guide. But since the budget, these same sector bodies have withdrawn their support. The government acknowledges their concerns and will therefore be carrying out a review of the pub valuation methodology, which will report in time to be implemented at the next revaluation. While this review is ongoing, and given the particular challenges that pubs have faced over the long term under the previous government, we are stepping in to provide support for pubs in the next 3 years. Today, I can confirm that from April, every pub in England will get 15% off its new business rates bill on top of the support announced at budget. Pubs' bills will then be frozen in real terms for a further 2 years. This support is worth £1,650 for the average pub just next year and will mean that around 3/4 of pubs will see their bills either fall or stay the same next year. Then bills will be frozen in real terms for the next 2 years. This decision will mean...
Order. I'm going to very gently say to the Minister, it was always open to him to ask for extra time, and we can't find any record of him having done so. He's got 10 minutes already, and there seem to be 3 more pages. So I am going to allow the opposition spokespersons more time as well, because this is an important statement that I think he wants to finish, but it's very unfair to exceed the time by what I reckon will be 50%. Minister.
Madam Deputy Speaker, let me apologise profusely for not letting you know in advance. This is the first time I've done one of these statements, and I will not make the same mistake again. And I'm glad that the same courtesy will be afforded to the Shadow Chancellor. I look forward to hearing his full 15 or so minutes of remarks. I'm sure they will be entertaining for all of us. I will make progress now, Madam Deputy Speaker. We can hear more from the Shadow Chancellor. This decision will mean that the amount of business rates paid by the pub sector as a whole will be lower in 2028-29 than it is today. This week is also Independent Venue Week, so it is particularly appropriate that I can announce also that our package will apply to music venues too. Many live music venues are valued as pubs, and many pubs are grassroots live music venues. It would not be right to seek to draw the line so tightly so as to include some and not others. I want to thank MPs who've made constructive representations on this issue in recent weeks. In the meantime, we are pressing ahead with wider regulatory reforms. Building on the new licensing policy framework at budget, we are working with the sector to ensure that local authorities are using this to ease licensing decisions on the ground. As part of our ongoing licensing reforms, I can also announce today that pubs and other licensed venues will be able to open until 1 a.m. or 2 a.m, depending on when the game starts, for home nation games in the later stages of the Men's Football World Cup this summer. And we will legislate to increase the number of temporary events notices for pubs and other hospitality venues, whether that is to help them screen World Cup games or other community and cultural events. This government is committed to helping pubs build sustainable business models over the long term. In the spring, the government will consult on further loosening planning rules to benefit pubs, helping them add new guest rooms or expand their main room without planning applications. We will also continue to engage with the sector to ensure other retail, leisure and hospitality premises have sufficient planning flexibility.
This is not acceptable. I'm going to be quite honest, the front bench have got to respond. When it's meant to be 10 minutes, it's 10 minutes. If people tell me in advance, I'm willing to work with them. But you just can't carry on. I take it you're now coming to the end and the back page, not the middle pages. Minister. No, I want you to end it. Quickly.
May I send my apologies, Mr. Speaker, for not letting you know in advance that the statement would be running over 10 minutes.
Can I just say gently, are you not advised that it's 10 minutes? The departments, we have people within departments that's meant to advise ministers how long they've got. How on earth have we got to a speech that doesn't... It could be 20 minutes. It's unfair to members here, there's other business. Please, this House should be shown the respect it deserves. And unfortunately, we're not getting it. I'm here to protect members, not for ministers to take advantage. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I will wrap up very quickly and I want to apologise again. Mr. Speaker, this government also understands that things are not easy out there Today's announcement is about additional support for pubs, but we do understand it's a tough time for other businesses on the high street. We've already taken significant steps to acknowledge this and support businesses, including £4.3 billion of business rate support at the budget. But over the last decade, consumers have changed their habits, increasingly working from home and shopping online, and these trends continue to make it harder for high street businesses. So today, I'm announcing that later in the year, the government will bring forward a high street strategy to reinvigorate our communities. We will work with businesses and representative bodies to bring this strategy together. It will be a cross-government strategy, and we will be looking at what more government can do to support our high streets. Mr. Speaker, to conclude, this government has already started the work of reforming our business rate system, and any potential changes to business rates will be considered at the budget in the usual way. We, and this side, have the right economic plan for Britain and will back our high streets and our pubs every step of the way.
Chancellor of the Exchequer, Milstride.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the mood of the House is that 10 minutes is more than enough for the honourable gentleman, although I should say that I am grateful to him for having given me advance sight of his statement.
Could I say you have got some extra time if you do need it, and the same with the Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Speaker, that is much appreciated. Mr. Speaker, is that it? After all this time, after weeks of telling our local pubs that help was on the way, this is all they get. A temporary sticking plaster that will only delay the pain for a few, while thousands of businesses despair as their bills skyrocket. The Labour Party's manifesto, Mr. Speaker, promised to completely replace the business rates system. They said they would create a system which levels the playing field for our high streets and supports entrepreneurship and investment. Well, we're waiting, Mr. Speaker, because so far what we have seen is the exact opposite of what our local businesses were promised. Business rates soaring across the board. Pubs, which despite the temporary relief announced today, will still end up in time with bills over 70% higher than they are today. The Federation of Small Businesses have calculated that for a typical medium shop or restaurant with a rateable value of around £50,000, their business rates will increase by 71% over the coming years. Hotels, Mr. Speaker, it is over 100%. Our ministers expect them to be grateful for some temporary relief, tweaks to multipliers and changes to licensing. Mr. Speaker, we on this side of the House have been clear. Support must be permanent. We have to cut business rates for our high streets to give certainty to local businesses. And it must be far wider than what the government has announced today. Not just pubs, but the whole of the retail, hospitality and leisure sectors, which bring life to our high streets and town centres. We, on this side of the House, would introduce not just temporary reductions in rates, but completely abolish business rates for thousands of pubs, shops and restaurants across our country.
That's exactly what's needed.
These huge tax rises we are seeing from this government are a choice, Mr. Speaker. It does not have to be this way. The government have chosen to increase spending by vast amounts, including on the benefits bill. A benefits giveaway of over £3 billion at the budget to abolish the two-child cap. These choices are why bills are going up, why businesses are going under, why jobs are being lost and why our high streets are being hollowed out. And let's not forget, Mr. Speaker, that this is not an isolated issue. Businesses are having to shoulder not just business rate rises, but a long list of other burdens being piled on by a government who simply do not understand how businesses work. Many of those facing the highest increases in their business rates were among the worst impacted by the Chancellor's jobs tax. They have already seen their business rates go up by as much as 140% last year. And they also face yet more costs from red tape, from the government's employment rights legislation. Indeed, analysis by UK Hospitality suggests that on average, as many as 6 hospitality venues could close every single day this year. That is a tragedy for our high streets and our communities. And it is also a tragedy, Mr. Speaker, for our young people, many of whom look for their first job in the local pub or the coffee shop and who will find those jobs simply do not exist anymore. So can I ask the Minister, where is the help for the wider retail, hospitality and leisure sectors? Does what has been announced today include gastropubs, pubs with hotel rooms, bars, nightclubs and private clubs? Why is the government happy to stand by and watch while businesses close and jobs are lost? When will the guidance be published for businesses so that they know whether they will be eligible for this further relief and what their bills will be over the coming year? Why did ministers not come forward with this relief for pubs at the time of the budget, when they knew the level of increases many businesses were facing? There is no new information, Mr. Speaker, that has been provided between the time of the budget and this statement this afternoon. And can he confirm that because this relief was not accounted for at the budget, today's announcement will need to be paid for through yet more borrowing? Mr. Speaker, the government has proved today that either they do not understand the damage they are doing or they do not care. Today's announcement is far too little, far too late.
Apologies again, Mr. Speaker. It won't happen again.
So, look, I appreciate that. But when the deputy's in the chair, I expect the same respect. When she says, time up, you do accept that ruling. She felt that you weren't stopping in time. So I don't want to get into it now. I will be speaking with the Chief Whip later, Minister.
It is just not credible at all, Mr. Speaker, to hear the Shadow Chancellor say that he would do things like scrap business rates. What did they do over the 14 years that they were in power? They kept business rates in place. They didn't reform the system. They introduced year after year of temporary reliefs that didn't work and that didn't last. 7,000 pubs closed under their watch in communities up and down the country, and they expect this House to believe that they were just getting round to it. Well, we don't believe it and we won't stand for it. Instead, on this side of the House, we will get on with the work, Mr. Speaker, of making sure that we can get our public finances in order, getting borrowing down and continuing to support businesses as far as we reasonably can with our £4.3 billion of support. He asked about the guidance. The guidance will be published today. I hope it has been published already, but if not, it will come very soon. Bills will be landing in the inboxes and doormats of businesses across the country in the coming weeks and will reflect the changes that have been announced today. Yes, this will be scored in the usual way at the budget. And he talks of borrowing. His plans to scrap business rates entirely, funded by made-up savings and other parts of public spending, would mean a 30 billion or so increase in borrowing, a borrowing that we could not afford. Mr. Speaker, we have, on this side of the House, set out significant plans today to support pubs, to support those businesses that are the heart of our high street and have been affected by the particular way that they are valued. And as I said in my statement, pubs' business rates valuations are not the same as the rest of hospitality, which are valued on their bricks and mortar, whereas pubs are valued on their takings. And industry bodies have highlighted concerns with how the costs are accounted for in this methodology, and the government does want to look at that more closely. That's why we're launching the review and why we've come forward with this significant package of support for pubs today.
Treasury, Dame Meg Hillier. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I welcome the support for music venues as well as pubs in my own constituency. And I also welcome the Minister's engagement and willingness to come and speak to the Select Committee and be questioned by us. And I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, you would agree he would increase his favour in your eyes were he to do that with dispatch and not leave it for too many weeks. So I thank the Minister for engagement on that. On the wider issue of business rates, there are changes now announced, but could he outline the time frame when we will see a significant change? It was a Labour manifesto commitment to change business rates. It does take time because of the valuation procedure. Is he proposing to change that wholesale, and what time frame will there be so that businesses of all types, pubs included, have certainty? Because that's what they need most of all, to know what the trajectory is in good time so that they can plan.
Yeah.
I thank my honourable friend for her question. The review to the methodology for pubs that we've announced today will be conducted as rapidly as possible. I hope it will conclude this year. And the changes to methodology for pubs and for hotels, because we also want to look closely at the way that they're valued, which is similar but not quite the same. I'm sure we'll get into it on the committee in due course. We want to make sure that those reviews conclude in good time for the next revaluation, which is set to come in 2029. And my honourable friend asks also about the rebalancing of the system that is the government's ambition. I would say that we have had the budget last year that did introduce, as I outlined, a significant rebalancing, with the largest businesses having a tax rate, a multiplier that's 33% higher than the typical businesses on the high street. But I do look forward to continuing to engage with members in this place and with businesses on business rates in run into the budget in the usual way.
Daisy Cooper, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the government is serious about saving the high street, then this can only be the start. We Liberal Democrats have been warning since the government's first budget that high streets were going to be at risk of the various changes they've made now over the last 18 months. A number of questions arise from this statement today, Mr. Speaker. First of all, there are 11 pubs in my constituency which could not all be described as large in size, but do have a rateable value of more than 100,000 on account of the ridiculous valuation system, and they will still see their rates bills go up. There will be pubs like this across the country, and they will only seem to be getting half of the percentage relief. Is that correct? Pubs can already have 50 temporary event notices a year, and extending that is simply a soundbite solution without a problem. On hotels, I'm glad the government is looking at this, but what is the time frame? The Samuel Ryder Hotel in my constituency tells me their bill is going up by 157% in the first year alone, and they will not be the only one. Will the new formula be in place for hotels in April, or will they be left in limbo? There is still nothing in this statement for the rest of the retail, hospitality and leisure sectors, restaurants, soft play centres, high street shops, who made business decisions, investment and hiring decisions based on the expectation of the full 20p discount. Mr. Speaker, I welcome the announcement of a high street strategy. We Liberal Democrats welcome that, and we will engage constructively. But will the Minister start now with our Liberal Democrat calls to direct the Competition and Markets Authority to look at the energy market, which is blocking hospitality businesses and other sectors from getting the best energy deals, and look at our fully funded proposal to slash VAT until April 2027 to give our high streets a boost? Mr. Speaker, getting answers and data from the government over the last few weeks and months has been like getting blood from a stone. Just 90 minutes ago, I asked the Minister if he would tell us what he knew and when. He said he would, but yet he hasn't. And finally, Mr. Speaker, on the pub methodology, the use of fair and maintainable trade, the use of turnover, has long had its day. But could I please urge the Minister to allow for parliamentary scrutiny? None of the current legislation relating to pubs or business rates allows for any scrutiny in this House or the other House. I asked the government about the valuation strategy, the valuation methodology, back in July 2024, one of my first written questions after the general election. It's taken 18 months for the government to listen. Please, will they allow this House to scrutinise their plans so we can get a long-term fix to save our pubs?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The 15% reduction will apply to all pubs, and as she will know, there are different caps for the pubs depending on their size. But if bills had been frozen, then no bill would have fallen next year. Instead, because we've made the decision to apply the 15% reduction, around 75% of pubs will either still see their bills stay the same or falling. I do acknowledge what she says about the very largest pubs, but we will still be significantly reducing the increase that they would have expected this year, and then their bills will be frozen in full in year 2 and year 3 of the period before the revaluation review that I'm glad that she is able to welcome. The results of that will be implemented for future revaluations. The Honourable Member mentioned the temporary event notices. I would say that the recommendations of the licensing review that was carried out in conjunction with pubs and with businesses in the sector, we are seeking to implement their recommendations. So she may think it's only something that doesn't touch the sides or doesn't make a difference, but pubs themselves told us that, yes, in addition to making sure we could support them in the right way fiscally, that changes like this would be welcome, and I hope that pubs who are able to will be able to make use of them. She asked too about the 20p multiplier. She is right to point out that we legislated for up to 20p. We do have to see these things in the balance. The decision to reduce the multiplier by 5 pence came with a £900 million price tag, so reducing to the full 20p would cost significantly more, and we think we have got in the round a package of support that both, yes, has a lower tax rate within the system, a lower multiplier, but also steps in with these caps to support businesses if they're experiencing increases in their values or having to adjust to the slow unwinding of the pandemic relief. She asked too about VAT, and all I'll say there, and she'll expect this, but is that when her party had the chance in government, what did they do? They put VAT up. And now they seem to be calling for it to go down, Mr. Speaker. And finally, on the question of what did I personally know and when, government ministers, as the VOA set out, were provided with the details of the increases in the valuations, but at that time we did not foresee, and I did not foresee, that after the changes in the rateable values that were published at the budget, we would be in a position where the pubs and their representative bodies would want to withdraw their support for the independently and previously agreed methodology. Given that, and given the government's judgment that there are issues that she refers to, we thought it was right to pause, to review their methodology and to make sure for them and for hotels it's fit for the future.
Just tell the House we'll run this to about 3:15 so we can all help each other now. Jim Dickson's the good example.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I thank the Minister for his statement? The pubs in my constituency, from the Growler Stop and Ivy Leaf in Dartford to the Bull in Stone and the Spring River in Ebbsfleet, are the heart of our community. Would the Minister agree with me that it's crucial we find ways to protect them as places for people to come together and build communities, and that the package he's announced today, with the 15% reduction on the revalued bill and the protection for the next 3 years, makes a big contribution to this?
I thank my honourable friend for his question and for his engagement on this matter on behalf of the businesses in his constituency. We are making a significant intervention for pubs today because we do understand the concerns that have been raised about the methodology. And yes, I've heard from members in this House about the central importance that they play in communities like his in Dartford and elsewhere to the health and the life and the vibrancy of high streets, towns and villages in his constituency and across the country.
Baldwin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's obviously a very successful strategy to put up a sticker saying no Labour MPs welcome here if you want to get a change from the Treasury. But we've ended up with something that is going to really lead to complications on our high street. So you'll have a pub that is being helped by today's announcement. You'll have a restaurant next door that serves alcohol and is a music, occasionally has music, and then you'll have a music venue. And so there's going to be a range of different ways in which businesses on the high street are now going to be treated. So why has he chosen just to single out pubs and music venues, because this is going to lead to all sorts of complications.
Mr. Speaker, there is a significant overlap between the pub sector and live music venues, with many pubs serving as grassroots live music venues, meaning they are often valued for business rates purposes in a similar way. We didn't think it would be right to draw the line so tightly, such as it would be the case that some music venues, which happen to be valued as pubs, would receive the relief, and others that don't happen to be valued as pubs wouldn't. We think that this is a fair and a reasonable way forward that reflects the reality on the ground.
Eshalomi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the Minister for this statement. It's a welcome news. Many of the pubs in my constituency will welcome it. I received an email from the General Manager of the Hampton Inn by Hilton, Waterloo, who outlined that their business rates will increase by 296k next year and up to 399 by year 4. They want additional support, not just for the hospitality sector, but hotels. As the Minister knows, hotels contribute a lot to the local economy. They employ local people, and their supply chain is local as well. And the hotels will be housing many of the people who come to visit our pubs, our restaurants, and other venues. And many of the hotels in my constituency house many of the MPs here as well. Will the Minister be happy to come and visit one of the hotels and just have a discussion with them along the South Bank?
As a London MP, I don't get the joy of staying in a hotel in her constituency. I instead get the joy of the Northern Line on the route home. She does ask an important question, though, about hotels. And the way they're valued is undertaken in a different way to some other sectors. Their methodology is well established, but as with pubs, specific concerns have been raised, and the government thinks it's right to review how they are valued for business rates to ensure that their valuations accurately reflects the market for these sectors. I do intend to engage with hotel businesses and their representative groups on this important issue, and any future changes to business rates for hotels or others will of course be considered in the usual way and as part of the usual budget processes.
Glen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could I respectfully say to the Minister that, remind him of when we had the Select Committee and Jonathan Russell from the Valuation Office Agency came before the Select Committee, he was very clear that the impact of the rate rises were made known to the Treasury before the budget. They provided data drops over 12 months, which, though didn't detail the rates of individual properties, obviously, they did provide a clear overview at a sectoral level and revealed that 5,000 pubs would see their rates doubled. So it's just not credible, is it, for the Minister to say that they didn't know what was going to happen and have a very clear view of the impact of the changes that they were imposing?
Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We were aware of the changes to rateable values that were going to be published at the budget, and that is why we came forward with a significant package of support to help businesses adjust to their new values. For example, we saw Waterstones just yesterday coming out and expressing their support for the changes to business rates that we have made that will support them and their business because of the lower multipliers that we've now put into the system. There are businesses across the country who are benefiting from the changes that we have made with those lower multipliers. And as I said, more than half are seeing their bills either flat or falling. And then the significant transitional relief support that we've put in place, the caps this year, next year and the year after, are because, yes, we were aware of the changes to the valuation, although I wasn't aware that of what would happen subsequently when it comes to the pubs and their views and the engagement that I've had with them on the methodology, which is why we're launching this review, because we think it's right to look carefully at it.
Samantha Niblett.
Mr. Speaker, last Friday I met with Laura at the Malt in Aston-on-Trent. She started as a pot washer, went to university, worked the whole way through and is now a tenanted landlady. She was sharing with me the amount of hours she works, and she will absolutely welcome the review to the business rates methodology, not least because she feels she works all the hours God sends and was due to have to pay a lot more. But I wonder whether the Treasury would also look at a couple of key bits of feedback she gave me. One, that she competes with supermarket prices for alcohol and staying at home, so she could have open longer licensing hours, but she can't compete with people staying at home and drinking. And the other one is a cardboard tax. So she has to pay for packaging for delivery from breweries, but she also has to pay local councils to pick up the packaging, and she would welcome something where they are reusing existing crates.
I thank my honourable friend for her question and for her engagement on this issue on behalf of the businesses in her constituency, Mr. Speaker. She does raise some interesting issues with regards to tax and regulation and licensing when it comes to pubs and hospitality. I don't want to preempt the work of the High Street Strategy, which will be a cross-government effort with Home Office, Department for Business, Department for Communities and Local Government and the Treasury working together. But these sorts of things are just the sort of thing that we do want to hear about from businesses on the ground, and I look forward to engaging with members of Parliament on all sides on the work of the High Street Strategy in the coming months.
Jenny's Steve Darling.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. This is a baby step in the right direction, and I know from hospitality, tourism and retail industry in Torbay that they continue to trade in a very hostile environment. One leisure industry provider shared with me in Paignton that they have a £44,000 gas bill. Can the Minister share what the government are doing to tackle these high energy prices that many suffer from?
Yeah. That's a very good question, Mr. Speaker, because it allows us to reflect on the fact that back in 2009, we had Nick Clegg, former leader of the Liberal Democrats, saying that we didn't need to invest in nuclear power because it wouldn't come online until the mid-2020s. Well, we are in the mid-2020s now, and we would have benefited from long-term investments, Mr. Speaker, in clean and green power, driving down energy bills for consumers and for businesses across the country. We're taking the long-term steps needed to invest in our energy security and to bring bills down. That's incredibly important, and I do hope that the steps that we've taken on business rates and on tax can be welcomed, and that businesses in his constituency and across the country will be able to engage through various sector bodies with the High Street Strategy that I've announced today.
Lizzi Collinge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure that pubs and venues like the Alhambra in Morecambe will welcome today's announcement, although the Minister might be aware of my letter to the Chancellor around the wider hospitality sector. On the High Street, we know that consumer demand has changed and therefore businesses must change too. So can the Minister tell me how the strategy will work with businesses and their representatives such as Morecambe Bid or Sedbergh Economic Partnership to pivot their businesses to meet the new market reality?
I thank my honourable friend for her question, and we are keen to hear from businesses large and small about what more the government can do to support high streets. We want to engage on lots of issues affecting high streets, including planning, licensing, crime, the direct investment that we can make in our communities. There's of course a lot to do, because we've had 14 years under the party opposite where our high streets were in decay, shops shutting, 7,000 pubs closing, businesses struggling across the country. We know there's work to do, and I look forward to working with her and honourable members on it.
Sir Gavin Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And after all the briefing in the newspapers, I think we're all hopeful of something more significant, and we have a somewhat more flaccid statement from the Minister. And it totally ignores the fact that not only are pubs having to deal with some pubs a threefold increase in business rates, but it does nothing to help the high street retailers. Will the Minister be coming back to the House for another U-turn to help our high street retailers in the future?
No.
McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The support package for pubs, of course, is welcome news. The Whitegate Inn in Chadderton saw its value increase from £194,000 to £330,000. The Halfway House at Royton from £20,000 to £57,000. But he knows that the pressures being felt by pubs are being felt by the whole of hospitality. For instance, the Egyptian Rooms Food Hall in Oldham will jump from £142,000 to £175,000, all part of the same ecosystem. Now, the government could and should have included that wider package in the announcement today. But can I urge the Treasurer, even at this second attempt, to get it right and have a wider support package for the whole of hospitality?
Mr. Speaker, we have implemented a wider support package for businesses across the country as a result of the changes to the values that are coming in from the 1st of April, unwinding the valuations that were last recorded during the pandemic. 56% of properties are going to see their bills falling or staying the same in April. The easy thing to do, Mr. Speaker, would have been to have kicked the revaluation into the long grass and buried our head in the sand. But we wanted to make sure, particularly for those businesses who've seen their valuations fall, that they got the benefit of having up-to-date values post-pandemic. And then, because we were aware of those changes coming down the track, we've stepped in with this £4.3 billion of support. And because of that, Mr. Speaker, broadly, the amount of revenue that we raise from business rates this year, net, will be the same as was forecast before the budget.
So, Albany.
Mr. Speaker, we have a diverse and varied hospitality sector in my constituency of Richmond Park, and it supports lots of different communities, including those who don't go to pubs, parents of young children, people who don't drink, faith groups, dare I say, people who don't want to watch the football. And they have different needs. They want to go to cafes, they want to go to soft play centres. So why is the government focusing this relief just on pubs? And can it not come up with a package that would provide better business rates relief for those kinds of businesses that are still going to be really, really struggling with this rates hike?
Just on the point of football, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member may not wish to watch the football. That's fine. That's her decision. We're also consulting, should be interested to know, on whether we can extend these longer licensing powers to other events. So she'll have to let me know if there are other events that she would like to go and watch in a pub, and they can be part of the consultation. On the specific point that she raises, I have already answered, in a way, Mr. Speaker, that question, but I'm happy to repeat myself, in that it is the case that pubs are valued differently than other sectors on the high street, and it's also the case, Mr. Speaker, that they have really suffered under the last 14 years, with 7,000 pubs closing and very significant pressures. More broadly, we have put in a package of support, as I've outlined already.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know that many of the businesses in the Walthamstow Beer Mile, which are also music venues, and our brilliant Rose and Crown pub, the Wood Street Bear, will welcome what the Minister said today, and rightly so, because pubs are important. But I must take issue with his metric that pubs are somehow the only cornerstone of community life in this country, and join with colleagues asking for further support for the hospitality industry, in particular those small independent venues like the cafes and community centres and soft play centres. I'm sure he does not want to be the minister responsible for sending toddlers into pubs because the other places that their parents might take them during the day have closed down. That would not be in anybody's interest. So can I make a plea with him to revisit his exclusion of these smaller independent chains from the hospitality relief that he is talking about?
I would not want to be the minister that caused that to happen. She makes a very good point, and as a parent of a young child, I can say how much I value soft play, even though it is rather exhausting at times. Look, on the important point that she raises, I have set out the specific reasons why we have taken this approach when it comes to pubs and to live music venues, and I'm glad that she's able to welcome that for the businesses in her constituency. More broadly, the government did come forward with this £4.3 billion of support, which the majority of which is coming this year. And we will, of course, continue to engage with businesses and with parliamentarians on this important issue in the run-up to future budgets.
Richard.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure whether the Minister has volunteered yet for Strictly Come Dancing, because from the government of U-turns today we've seen a half-turn or a reverse turn or a pivot, as it's known in ballroom dancing. But can I just say to him that I think this statement is too little too late for so many Shropshire pubs. He will recall that I've invited him to join me in Shropshire on a pub crawl, and he so far has not responded. But can I just say, perhaps he shouldn't respond, because for many pubs in Shropshire, this is too little too late. They've already decided to close their doors. For the independent pub chains, they've had to make investment decisions, and they've put those off. So can I just appeal to him on this wider business review for the leisure sector, for the retail sector and hospitality sector, that it is not 2029 but the timetable is brought forward so people can plan for their business future.
On his point about timing, look, we have announced this decision today in time for new bills to be issued for the 1st of April that reflect the changes that the government has come forward with, because we've listened and because we've carried out that engagement in recent weeks. I'm not sure I'll take him up on an offer of a pub crawl just yet, but I do hope that he will be able to welcome the support that we have provided for the pubs that he raised with me in questions earlier this year.
No. Speaker, I'd like to thank the Minister for his really positive engagement in this and his willingness to listen. It has made a big difference. This announcement will be a big relief to pubs across Rossendale and Darwin and shows the government is on their side. But the Minister's rightly recognised the need for more fundamental reform, so I welcome the announcement of the pub and hotel valuation methodology reviews and the High Street strategy. But would the Minister agree with me this is an opportunity to think further and consider how the business rate system and indeed the tax system as a whole can be used to actively incentivise entrepreneurs to start and grow businesses and create jobs in the places where our communities need them most?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for his persistent and powerful engagement on these matters. He is an expert on all things high street and business rates, as I've come to know. I would point him to the transforming business rates work that the government has been publishing and advancing. One of the changes that we are considering carefully, and we're talking to businesses about, Mr. Speaker, is whether we could change the business rate system from a slab system to a slice system. So at the moment, if you go over individual thresholds, your tax rate then applies to the whole value of your property. And we do think, and we want to investigate it because reform is always tricky, but we do want to investigate whether changing to a slice system where the tax rate doesn't have those big stepped increases will support investment by businesses on high streets in Rossendale and Darwin and across the country.
Lisa Smart.
Mr. Speaker, William Robinson is the Managing Director of Robinson's Brewery in my patch. He's the 6th generation running a brewer, bottler and over 250 pubs, inns and hotels across the whole of the North West and North Wales, including their important bottling plant in Bredbury. William's written to me to tell me that the present system is destroying confidence, thus businesses and future investment and therefore jobs. Does the Minister accept that repeated changes, moving from the removal of reliefs to this package, including frozen bills and a temporary 15% discount, has created huge uncertainty and anxiety for pubs as they're making important investment and staffing decisions?
There is this big picture thing that we do need to move to with business rates, which is making sure that permanently we have a differential treatment for retail, hospitality and leisure businesses and those higher value, particularly the large online warehouses that are causing that economic rebalancing that we don't really want to see, that is harming our high streets. The government set out the reforms at the budget in terms of the 5p reduction in the multiplier, and as I've set out to members, that is £1 billion almost transfer away from the high street, as it were, less tax towards the larger online giants. And I do want to continue to engage on all matters of tax that affect the high street in the run-up to the budget, and decisions will of course be made in the usual way.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I welcome the changes the Minister brought in for pubs and music venues. Can I ask him to assure me that in terms of music venues, these changes will apply to Sheffield Arena, which currently, under the proposal, has been treated like an Amazon warehouse? Will he also look at the issue I wrote to him about, how Handsworth Junior Sports Club, a small local voluntary sports club in my constituency, has been faced with a 60% increase in their business rates? Surely that can't be right. It needs looking at again.
I thank my honourable friend for the question. As I said, some live music venues are valued in a similar way to pubs, and so will be included in the relief. We think it's fairest to provide the same level of relief to all music venues, and the detail will be set out for the business in his constituency and others to see in the guidance, which I hope, if it's not already published, will be published at some point today.
Doing good.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It doesn't say English business rates up there, so I'm assuming, therefore, that the Minister can confirm that the budget, the DPART expenditure limit for the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government is going to increase with new money, which will be Barnet consequential to the devolved nations. Can the Minister confirm what will that quantum be and when will it be delivered? Thank you.
The Barnet consequentials of this decision will be set out in the usual way and in the usual process, Mr. Speaker.
Riddle Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Minister for his statement? Can I also give personal thanks to the honourable members and honourable friends that were talking and advocating very strongly with him, including the members for Shoreditch, Gower and Isle of Wight West. Can I also thank the businesses and particularly pubs in my constituency, the Anchor at Walberswick, the Freusin and Devers Inn and many, many more. I welcome today's announcement, but we can do more and go further, including in the strategy that's taken forward, looking at lowering VAT for hospitality and lowering the alcohol duty, perhaps offset by a higher alcohol duty in supermarkets.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This year we are 3 years on from the changes to alcohol duty that the previous government implemented, and the government has been clear. I'm not sure whether the previous government had the same policy position, but that it would be reviewed after 3 years. And so as part of that usual process, we will be reviewing the reforms that were made in 2023. And if she or other members want to write to me on changes that they think should be made, I would, of course, be happy to receive that correspondence.
Sober.
Mr. Speaker, Labour's response to high street struggles. A strategy later this year to look at, I quote, what more the government can do to support high streets. Well, I'll save them the trouble. They should adopt the Conservatives' plan and scrap business rates on those high streets.
I'm not sure what the question was there, Mr. Speaker, but on this side of the House, we have set forward a plan which is fair and which is reasonable and which doesn't engage with the fantasy economics that the members opposite keep peddling. They've still got Liz Truss in their party, and it shows, because instead of having a sensible business rates policy that is affordable and works for the long term, they've got their made-up spending cuts and then pretending that they could afford to abolish a tax altogether. We know that won't work. We know they won't deliver it, not least given they had 14 years to make changes of that magnitude and they never even bothered.
OK. Alex Sobel, then.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As co-chair of Music APPG in Independent Venue Week, I'd like to thank the Minister for extending the support to music venues. Can I ask whether it would include multi-use venues such as the City Varieties, my constituency, who attended the Holocaust Memorial event on Sunday, and the Howard Assembly Rooms? And also, has the Minister considered the impact on music studios, which are also a core part of our creative industries in this country?
I thank the honourable member for his support for the announcements made today. Just because I don't know the specific independent venues, it wouldn't be right for me to comment here, but he is very welcome to check the guidance, to encourage his venues to check the guidance online. And we've been clear that our policy intent is for pubs and music venues to be covered by these changes.
Adam Dance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Many businesses who met with me after the budget, including Sean, who runs Lanes Hotel, will welcome this decision to review the way hotels are valued. But their biggest concern is about staying afloat today. A review will not make a difference to the bills business owners like Sean have right now. So what help will the government offer rural hotels fighting to stay afloat? And does the Minister recognise that the uncertainty, all this flip-flopping, is creating for the hospitality sector?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have set out a package of support for hotels and for all other businesses. This year it's worth around £2 billion, it's worth £4 billion over the next 3 years. The increases in the bills for the hotels in his constituency this year, if there are hotels facing significant increases in their rateable values, will be much, potentially many multiples lower, because bill increases are capped at either £800 if they're very small, or 15% or 30% for the largest. And I think it is really important that we do distinguish, and I'm not saying he isn't, I'm not sure of the detail, but between the change in rateable values and the change in bills, because that is important and it sometimes gets lost in this discussion.
Chris Curtis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and can I welcome the engagement for the Minister and the announcement today, and welcome him if he would like to come and visit the Dolphin pub for a pint in my constituency, where I used to pull pints after this fantastic announcement. But just down the road from there is William Cowley, a business that has been in my constituency since 1870, producing the vellum on which much of the history of this nation has been written, including royal weddings, births, deaths, royal patents, freedoms of the city, and many of the acts that have passed through this Parliament. I raise them, Mr. Speaker, because they are worried about their viability going forwards, particularly after the revaluation of business rates. So will the Minister agree to meet with me to have a discussion about how we can better support heritage businesses going forwards? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, one of my favourite things to do is to meet with my honourable friend and discuss a whole range of matters, so I'd happily discuss this issue with him too. Though, of course, I would have to say to him that I hope, and actually we have been in correspondence on this business already, so I hope that he passed on the messages for me around the need to check that there's a difference between the increase in the RV, the rateable value, and the increase in the business rates bills. And I hope before long to be in one of the fastest growing cities in the country too.
Right, well, Mr. Speaker, this U-turn does deliver some much needed temporary relief for a lot of pubs, but it does not deliver the permanent lower bills that the Prime Minister promised. Also does nothing at all for those other hospitality firms in our constituencies, the cafes, the restaurants, the clubs, the guest houses that are facing crippling rate rises because of this government's choices. Mr. Speaker, isn't it a sign of the incompetence in this government that they can't even get their U-turns right?
I don't think that was a question for me, but it was a question for you.
Mr. Speaker, I note that Reform have already made it to the pub ahead of this statement, maybe to celebrate the latest defection from the Conservative Party. But can I thank the Minister for his statement today and say that since I got elected last year, I've been running a campaign to open up our empty shops in Gloucester and show that we are open for business. Can I ask him to expedite the High Street strategy to make sure that we are capitalising on the fantastic opportunities we have in my city to really turbocharge regional growth in my area and make sure that everyone can be proud of their High Street?
I do really look forward to working with my honourable friend on important matters such as the High Street strategy, and I hope that he will have been in conversation with his local authority and with businesses around some of the other measures that the government are introducing on the issues that are important to him. I think High Street rental auctions have a real potential to be quite powerful in terms of their ability for us to force those vacant shops that are being left vacant for too long back into use, and the community right to buy as well should be a really effective change, and I hope that we'll be able to see it implemented in his constituency and across the country.
Can the Minister understand, from the point of view of a small independent retailer, how the way that this announcement's been done after the package has gone forward late in the day has led to a perception of unfairness? I was contacted by one owner who pointed out her bills have gone up over £500 a month. She compares herself to Harrods and Selfridges, whose bills have gone down, and points out that while she's pleased that local pubs and hospitality have got some help, her business sits alongside them and is part of the same community. So what does he have to say to that independent retailer, the backbone of our economy? When's the help coming for her business?
Mr. Speaker, I don't know the details of the individual business owner and how much rateable value has increased, etc. But I would say that within this system, we have implemented first the permanently lower multipliers, 33% lower now than the tax rate that's paid by the online giants. That's a big change to the system that this government has delivered, that previous governments have done time and time again. We've implemented our transitional relief caps this year, capping increases at £800 or 15 or 30% for the largest, and we will continue to engage with businesses on a whole range of issues on what more we can do.
Jonathan Brash. Of course, this package of support for pubs and music venues is most welcome, and I know it will be welcomed in Hartlepool, but I've been contacted by numerous businesses, including the Marine Hotel in Seaton Carew, whose business rates will basically double this year. Hartlepool is a town of entrepreneurs and innovators, but they can't afford this. Will the Minister look again at the wider support package we can put in place for hospitality?
It is really important, and I would say to him, and I'd be happy to have a further conversation with him about this, that there will be no hotel that will be seeing their business rates bill go up by 100% this year. It may be that they've seen a really significant increase in their rateable value, and we will be reviewing that methodology because of those large increases, which we were aware of and we want to work on with the hotel industry. But this year, it sounds like his business is probably one of the larger ones. Its increase will be capped at 30%. It may, if it's smaller, be capped at 15%. That's the difference that this government is making. The previous government, for example, if it's a business receiving RHL relief, would have removed that relief overnight, Mr. Speaker, in 2025 with a 300% increase in rateable values for businesses.
Martin Vickers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the Minister were to visit my constituency and come with me to the George Inn in Barton-on-Humber, we'd go in the door and he would immediately recognise it as a typical English pub. And yet it is also a hotel, the last hotel in the towns. Could the Minister give them a reassurance to the proprietor at the George? Will he be receiving early relief, or will he have to wait for yet another review?
The definition of pubs that is used for the changes that have been announced today is the same one that was used when the previous government implemented a relief, I believe, in 2017. So it's a long-standing definition, and I would encourage the member to find that on the gov.uk website and send that to the relevant business. I don't know the precise details of the pub that he mentions, but we're sticking with the long-standing definition used here.
Andrew Pegg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are fond of a pint in Peterborough. So can I thank the Minister and his team for his engagement today and in the months leading up into this decision. We're also proud of our independence, our independent beer festival. We are home to Oakham Ales. So can I ask the Minister, can he reassure us that as you look at the new rules and the strategy for the high street and the rules for business rates, that you also take due regard to the needs of the community sector, both those pubs that are going into community ownership, but those small businesses and others that actually provide communities on our high streets?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And this is a really important point because there are many independent pubs up and down the country, as well as sort of bigger chain pubs, and it's right that the support that the government is bringing forward will support both. And so, more or less, independents and chains, around 75%, or definitely above 70%, will receive support this year, such that their bills are either flat or falling, because we do want to make sure that we're protecting both the independents and the chains, Mr. Speaker.
Samuel Wilson.
Speaker, I also welcome this statement. It's a pity it does not include hotels and restaurants, because in Northern Ireland the hospitality sector is under massive pressure due to regulation, taxes and also other regulations which are imposed. The Minister has confirmed that this will be new money and therefore there will be a Barnet consequence. Can he indicate how much that will be, but more importantly, can he ensure that the Sinn Féin Finance Minister spends the money for the purpose it was intended, rather than spending it on other purposes, which in the past he has done?
Mr. Speaker, it isn't for me to tell devolved administrations how to spend their money, but if he would like to write to me, I would be happy to write back to him with the details of the consequences of the decision set out today.
Ms. Webb.
Speaker, as the APPG Chair of Hospitality and Tourism, can I thank the Minister for his constant engagement with me since the budget. I've been able to raise concerns directly with him from the industry, from the UK, hospitality and others. This will be welcome for many pubs in Blackpool, including our small music venues, Mr. Speaker, the Bootleg, so which you may want to come and visit sometime soon. Hope you get well soon as well, sir. But this, we know the hospitality is struggling. It's been on life support after a decade of neglect from the previous government. It needs more support. So will he continue to engage with me, the all-party group, and UK Hospitality, to look at what we can do in this high street strategy so we get it right this time?
My honourable friend is a powerful and strong advocate, both for the businesses in his constituency, Mr. Speaker, and for the hospitality sector more broadly. And I thank you for the conversations that we've had. I think we spoke before Christmas, as well as, of course, in recent weeks. And I will, of course, continue to engage with him and the hospitality sector, both on issues in relation to tax, as is the typical way for a tax minister in the run-up to a budget, but also I do want to talk more about the broader support that the government can provide, working across government departments as part of the high street strategy that we've announced today.
Thank
Mr. Speaker, another U-turn which doesn't go far enough, because as a result of choices made by Labour, energy bills are up, taxes are up and confidence is down, and that is particularly corrosive, and it's having a particularly corrosive effect on cafes, restaurants, hotels and small retail. Will the Minister announce broader support for those businesses to alleviate the pressure of business rates, or better still, scrap them once and for all?
Over and again, Mr. Speaker, members opposite profess to be paragons of fiscal virtue, and yet over and again they stand up in this place on matters of tax and say they want to cut taxation, which effectively means more and more and more borrowing. We've seen the problems in the past of Conservative governments that let borrowing run out of control, cause interest rates to surge for families in our constituencies, send our economy to the dogs and harm living standards. We will not stand for that. We will not make the mistakes that they made, and we will come forward with proportionate changes that support businesses but that make sure that we continue to keep our public finances on a sustainable path, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. York is a difficult place to trade, and with 2/3 independents in York, many of them are not going to get the relief which the Minister has announced today, because I sent through a paper and the spreadsheet of every business in the bid area, and it's just not meeting the needs, and those businesses will close. So will the Minister look at that detail and ensure that there is resilience built in and support, because York has a very strong retail reputation, but it's about to be challenged unless more help comes this way.
Mr. Speaker, I'm always happy to look and respond to the correspondence I receive from honourable members, and I'm aware of the issues that she raises. She's been raising them consistently in this House. We have come forward at the budget with a significant package of support, and there are many small and independent businesses that are small such that they don't pay business rates, because we do have the small business rates relief in place, a relief that we're extending to support businesses that could extend to a second premises.
Hello, more.
Mr. Speaker, may I declare an interest, because my husband works for an independent wine merchant. Today's news is going to be very welcome for the many pubs in North Shropshire who've been pushed to the brink over recent years by national insurance contributions increases, high energy bills and now business rates. But this is not going to help shops or hotels like the lovely Penny Dufferin in my constituency, whose rateable value has nearly quadrupled. Will the Minister outline the timeline for the review that he's doing of hotels in particular, and outline what other help can be given to retail and hospitality businesses?
Yes, so the review that we've announced today, we do want to work with the hotel sector on it. We want to make sure, Mr. Speaker, that it reports in time to be implemented by the Valuation Office by the date of the next revaluation. And if there are hotels, which will be, I believe the one that she's talking will be at the very sort of far end of the distribution of changes in rateable values with an increase that large, that's precisely why we've implemented the support that we have. So if it's worth less than 100,000, its increase will be capped at 15% this year. If it's worth more, its increase will be capped at 30%. We're aware that that is still an increase, but it's significantly less, Mr. Speaker, than it would have been if we hadn't stepped in to provide that support.
Catherine Atkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is understandable that COVID-era business rate support does need to come to an end, and the 15% cap on increases for most hospitality businesses is a really important protection. But can I particularly welcome the government's acknowledgement of the central role that pubs play in our communities. Pubs like the Paddock in Chaddeston and the White Swan in Littleover and so many more across Derby. Will the government continue to listen to pubs and work with pubs so that we can ensure that they have certainty for the long term?
Mr. Speaker, yes, we will continue to work with pubs because we do value them, but I do want to be clear that we value all of the businesses on the high street. We value our hospitality businesses, we value our retail businesses, and we value those who work in leisure and soft play, I believe was mentioned earlier. All of these different businesses that provide life and vibrancy on our high streets are important. I've set out these particular challenges with the rateable value methodology for pubs and the big challenges they've faced over the last 14 years with 7,000 closing. But we do want to make sure that we continue to do all we can to support high streets in our constituency and across the country.
Bentley.
Dozens of small businesses across Ceredigion and North Pembrokeshire will have listened to the Minister stated with interest. Could he please reassure me that the consequential funding he has confirmed that will go to the Welsh Government will be determined and communicated in such time to allow the Welsh Government to allocate additional support to those small businesses the 1st of April?
I am sure that the consequentials and the implications of them will be set out as soon as is practically possible.
As Mr Speaker, I think knows, Exeter and Devon has some of the finest pubs, independent breweries and live music venues in the country, and I'd like to thank Exeter Brewery and the Exeter Phoenix Arts Venue for their representations to me on these issues. I'm pleased that on top of the support in the budget, pubs will get an additional 15% off, and that will apply to music venues as well. It's very welcome. Does the Minister agree with me that the 4.3 billion of support in the budget and the budget support today does stand in stark contrast to the previous record of 7,000 pubs closing under the last government?
I would very much agree with my honourable friend. There is a stark contrast here between a government that is reforming our business rate system, that has set out long-term differences in the multipliers, aka the tax rates, faced by the high street and faced by the online giants and the largest businesses, and that's why the businesses on his high street, typical businesses, will have a tax rate that is significantly lower now than the tax rate faced by the largest online warehouses. Of course, I understand that bills may still be increasing because of the winding down of the pandemic relief and the increase in rateable values, but that underlying reform of the system is there, Mr Speaker, and it's there for good.
Monica Harding.
Mr Speaker, Tom Duxbury has run Marnie's Village Inn in Western Green for 17 years, a brilliant and much-loved local. His rateable value is set to rise from £20,000 to £50,000, a 175% increase. Alongside this, he's facing rent rises, inflation on beer, wine products, energy, customers with less money in their pockets. So, did the government not see his plight right from the get-go? And what more help can he give them for these community... I'm sorry, Mr Speaker, for all of these pressures, and what help will he be giving them in future?
Minister.
I thank the honourable member for her question. And for the pub sector as a whole now, because of the interventions announced today, the total business rates bill for pubs will be falling over the coming years. And for individual pubs, as she mentions, we're giving a 15% reduction on the new bills and then a real terms freeze for the next 2 years. That's a significant intervention because of the significant challenges that pubs have faced, as 7,000 pubs closing, and because of the issues with their methodology.
Thank
you, Mr Speaker. Can I welcome this really large additional support for pubs and music venues on top of the £4.3 billion that was given to the wider sector at the budget. Can I also thank the Minister for all the conversations he's had with me over the previous few weeks, and with Dan and Ness from the Greyhound, who've engaged so positively and constructively with me. It's fair to say the business rates rebound inherited from the previous government had a mixed picture across Ipswich, but particularly the Greyhound was particularly unfortunate. So could the Minister lay out for me his thinking behind some of the review of this process going forward?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for the advocacy that he's made on behalf of the pubs and the businesses in his constituency. There have been concerns raised about the methodology. We've looked into them in recent weeks, and we do think it's right to review it. That review will take place in the coming months. It will definitely report in time for the new revaluations so that we can have a long-term and sustainable methodology for pubs that makes sure they're valued in the right way for the long term from 2029 onwards.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Minister's statement will certainly be welcomed by many pub owners who have written to me in recent weeks anxious about how the rising costs. But what about the rest of the high street? Small businesses are the heartbeat of Blackburn, the engine of our country, already battered by online shopping and rising costs. They are being squeezed from every direction. Why is the government making it harder for Blackburn's independent shops to survive, instead of delivering the permanent cuts our town centres need to flourish?
Minister.
Mr Speaker, around 1 in 3 businesses will continue to benefit from small business rates relief and so will pay nothing at all. And for many independent shops that are in the business rate system and are above that threshold, some will be on the taper just above it, and then others will benefit from the support that was set out at the budget.
Colin.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I welcome support for pubs in Britain's beer capital of Burton and Uttoxeter, thank the Minister for his continued engagement with me on this. I know we'll continue to speak about other measures like draft relief that could be included in the future. The Minister will remember that I stressed the importance of wider hospitality and also breathing life into our high street, so I welcome the High Street Strategy announcement. Can he say how businesses themselves can feed directly into that so that we hear from those that are affected?
Mr Speaker, my honourable friend is one of the proudest and strongest champions of the businesses in his constituency, the brewers and the pubs and all of those in the hospitality industry. And I'm sure that businesses in his patch would do well to feed in via him, as he is such a good representative.
Savage.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. There are many fine pubs in the South Cotswolds, such as the Old George in South Cerney or the Rattlebone in Shurston. For many of our small rural communities, these are the only freely available spaces where people can meet faith leaders and football fans alike. Yet many of them are really struggling. So while I welcome today's statement, £1,650 per pub is better than a poke in the eye, but not much. I wonder if the Minister would be kind enough to meet with me to discuss how his department might be able to further support the pubs of the South Cotswolds. And given today's run-ins with the Speaker's chair, I might suggest the Trouble House near Tetbury as a suitable venue.
I do hope that I'll be out of trouble before too long. We are also going to be doubling the Hospitality Support Fund with £10 million of funding over the next 3 years. This fund aims to help over 1,000 pubs to diversify their business models, improve efficiency and productivity in the sector, and support people who are furthest from the labour market to move into jobs in hospitality.
Lewis Atkins.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I welcome the 15% off pubs, business rates for pubs in Sunderland? Because we're a music city where live music is core to our identity and our regeneration, can I particularly welcome the steps he's announced around live music venues? And for his engagement with me and the Music Venue Trust in the past. Could he say a little bit about the methodology going forward for music venues? I know he'll be looking at the pub methodology, but would he consider discussing the methodology for music venues going forward? And we could do that perhaps in a gig at Independent or a pub or a pint at the Ship Isis afterwards.
Minister.
I thank him for his question and for his representations on behalf of businesses in his constituency. The government's clear that we're going to be looking at the pub and the hotel methodologies specifically. I'd of course be happy to have a conversation with him if he does think there are issues for other sectors, but the government's position is clear that it's pubs and hotels that we will be focusing on. Maybe if I can make it up, I'd be happy to...
Colin Lockhart.
Mr Speaker, unfortunately the Sinn Féin Finance Minister in Northern Ireland hasn't got the memo on the need to support our hospitality sector in Northern Ireland and is pressing on with a rates re-evaluation that will see one of the hotels in my constituency experience a 267% rate rise. Will the Minister commit to share the hard learning that this government has experienced with regards to rates, and will he go further and reduce the VAT rate for hospitality as well?
Mr Speaker, the honourable member is right that each devolved government has full control over the structure and the level of business rates within its part of the country. They set business rates policy, retain all the revenues generated and determine how they are spent, and it is up to the devolved administrations to determine how to do that.
Jonathan Dennis.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. When we had an urgent question on business rates last week, I raised the issue of grassroots music venues, so I'm very pleased today that the Minister has confirmed that there will be 15% off business rates for pubs and grassroots music venues. And as he seeks to build on the permanently lower multipliers, the excess of £4 billion of support in the budget with his high street strategy, can I encourage him to keep music and cultural venues front and centre of his thinking, because the UK music industry generates over £8 billion for the UK economy, and these venues are a platform for future talent.
Minister.
I will, of course, continue to keep those important cultural and social assets in mind, Mr Speaker, as we continue to work on policy to support those sorts of businesses across the country.
Alison Bennett.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Minister talks about the definition of a pub. In the village of Hurstpierpoint, in my Mid-Sussex constituency, Morley's Bistro has a very similar product offering to the food-led pubs on the same high street. They're competing for the same customers and ideally employing the same young people and giving them their first job. How does the Minister justify this?
Minister.
Mr Speaker, we are using long-standing definitions that have been set out in business rates guidance before to define in the usual way the pubs and the similar venues that will be included within that relief.
Lord Charters.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I thank Gary at the Marsha in Bishopthorpe and Adam at the Wenlock in Wheldrake for meeting me to discuss support for pubs. The reality is the Tories created a ticking time bomb on business rates, then walked away like someone who spilled a pint and left us to mop it up. Does the Minister agree with me that this is a government determined to back the legendary landlords in Britain, just like Gary and Adam?
The Young Minister.
Very much so, Mr Speaker. We do want to support legendary landlords. I have my own in my constituency, and I look forward this weekend to having a pint with them to discuss the changes that the government has made.
Van Bellen.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. When it comes to business rates, the government have delivered a masterclass in giving with one hand and taking with another, leaving pubs and hospitalities worse off. But businesses can't be fooled. They are on top of their numbers, even if the government is not. So will the government consider, again, the Liberal Democrat proposal for an emergency 5% cut in VAT for hospitality? And can he give an answer that doesn't resort to political point scoring?
Minister.
We will not be considering the Liberal Democrats' policy.
Speaker, yesterday I visited the Beach Hut, a fantastic independent indoor play venue in my home village of Norton Keynes. The owner, Joanne, told me how passionate she and her staff are, but they face particularly acute pressures given that they have a relatively large footprint and therefore high business rates, whilst they have to keep fees low for families. Given that indoor play is in a perfect storm of increasing costs but offers so much to children and their parents, and as he'll be working on a high street strategy, would the Minister be willing to meet with me, venues from Cannock Chase and the Association of Indoor Play to discuss what support could be provided to the sector?
Minister.
I would be happy to discuss this matter with him. Indoor play is a really valuable and growing part of our economy, and there are some challenges for them with more free childcare. It may be that fewer people are going in during the day. We have set out our proposals on business rates at the budget to support those businesses, and I know many indoor play centres have seen increases in their rateable values to support them with significant caps this year, next year and the year after.
Claire Young.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. When I visited the Play Shed in Yate last year, the reduction in retail, hospitality and leisure relief was already costing them £12,000, even before the more recent changes. While this package is welcome for pubs and music venues, what will the government do to help other leisure businesses in my Thornbury and Yate constituency who are struggling with business rates?
Mr Speaker, we have changed the tax rates, the multipliers within the system, so that for example, a typical high street business may pay 38p now, and an online retailer giant may pay 51p in the pound on their rateable values. That's a significant underlying reform to the tax system that is here and here for good.
Tom Hayes.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Business rates are complicated, this new methodology particularly so. Businesses were always going to be in touch with MPs, and in our democracy we were going to talk it through with the government to get to a better place. Today's announcement shows that our democracy works and that representation works. And I want to thank the businesses in Bournemouth East, the hospitality sector owners who have constructively engaged with me in order to get to this better place. We also in this House need to put party politics aside and recognise that business owners put their hearts and their souls, their blood, their sweat and their tears into building something better, and we all need to commit to doing something better on their behalf. Will the Minister continue to engage with me on behalf of all hospitality in order that we can get the very best deal for them, not just now, but in the future too?
Mr Speaker, I want to thank my honourable friend for his engagement, his persistence and his advocacy on behalf of the businesses in his constituency. I know that there have been many conversations that he has had, or maybe that he would want to have had, with businesses in his constituency, and he's been able to feed them directly to me as the Minister with responsibility for tax, and I'm sure we'll continue to have conversations in the months and years to come.
Good day, Box.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The change in business rates for pubs will be welcomed by the Winchester and Troll in my constituency, but a family hotel contacted me yesterday. The combined impact of government changes in the budgets will, they expect, lead to a £250,000 loss next year as they look ahead to next year. Will the Minister meet not just with me but with Somerset MPs and hoteliers to discuss how hotels can be helped through the reforms that he's proposing?
Minister.
Mr Speaker, because of the concerns that we can see around the methodology to value hotels, today we've announced that we will be reviewing that methodology so that in time for the next revaluation, hotels can have a methodology that more appropriately works for their sector. We have hotels, he's right to point out, have seen some of the largest increases in their rateable values, and therefore they will be some of the biggest beneficiaries from the caps that we put into the system this year.
We know that completes the statement.